Hey there! Look at 3 pens. Today we're going to have a look at no less than 3 pens. They're all the same model, but there are 3 finishes made by Ferris Wheel Press here in Canada. They're in the Greater Toronto area, and they make interesting stuff: stationery, packaging, boxes, paper boxes, etc. I spent I wouldn't really call it an afternoon, but I went there. I spent about an hour there along with Aziza talking about these pens that Ferris Wheel Press has now launched and that they are selling. So very interesting. These pens are made in Shanghai, and they are brass and they are lacquered, and they have some interesting features which I'm going to show you. So I'll cover the parts of the pen, I'll do a writing sample, and I'll tell you what I like about them and what I not like about them. Let's get started. Okay, let's have a look at the Ferris Wheel Press, the brush. Now, it is a bit brush-like, isn't it? With the long tapered end, or maybe a desk pen, but it's called the brush, so I can see that. You see the pen here next to, or the pens here next to a TWSBI Diamond 580. As you can see, it's about the same length, but the pens are much skinnier, the brush pens. Let me take one of these. Let's do this teal one. There's white, yellow and teal. And let's look at the parts. Top of the pen, top of the cap, finial, same material as the rest of the pen. So this is a copper body, which is then lacquered. I'm assuming this nut is brass, which is actually quite nice because it's a roll stop, and it's pretty hard to make this pen roll off your desk, so that works very well. Barrel tapers down, and that's it. It is extremely tempting to post these pens, and I'm doing this very, very carefully because you see you can post it, but you recommend it not to because it is lacquer and you don't want to damage that. But if you don't care, you can post them, and it's a very secure post. Here we have the section. As you can see, section tapers down a bit, threads are there, and then a number 5 nib. Although that is a number 5, I wonder if that's even number 4, because that's a smallish nib. We'll check it, we'll measure it. Now let me zoom in a bit here, because there's a lot of detail where you usually don't find it on a pen. If you look at this section, right, which is brass, you can see that it's engraved. And it's engraved with the Ferris Wheel Press logo, which I think is quite nice. That's a nice engraving, adds a lot of nice detail. Then here it says designed in Canada, but as I said, the pens themselves are made in Shanghai. On the nib it says Ferris Wheel Press. It has the Canadian maple leaf instead of a breather hole, which I think it's cute. And then there are the Roman numerals V and VI for 5 and 6. And when I was at Ferris Wheel Press, I said, what does that mean? And there was some laughter. So here's the quick rundown. The city of Toronto, there are 2 area codes, 416 VI and 905 V. And there's a bit of, let's say, friendly rivalry between the people who live in the different areas. So the V and VI, 5 and 6, I think have no meaning to anyone who is not in Toronto or not familiar with this story, but it is a cute detail for a company that is in the Toronto area. Okay, let's zoom out, and do some writing. Now I have to switch pens because I inked up only one. They all have the same nib, so in that regard, no issues there. The Ferris Wheel Press. The brush. The nib is a fine medium sort of steel, one size fits all, and the ink here is waterman green. Quite a lot of feedback from this nib. I don't find it scratchy though. It is feedback, but it's not unpleasant. Wetness. These nibs are not really gushers. And I find them relatively stiff too, so be very careful when you do this. But you can squeeze out a bit of line variation. I would not necessarily recommend pushing these nibs that far though. I just did this to do a demonstration. Reverse writing. It's possible. You get a finer line out of it for sure, but the pen also gets a lot drier, and I would not be surprised if at some point it runs dry completely if you do this. Okay, so you have now seen the parts of the pen, you have seen the pen in action. Let's see what I like about it and what I not like about it. Okay, Ferris wheel press, the brush. What do I like? What do I not like? Well, one thing that's to like is that you have 3 colors to choose from, and these colors are also represented a bit in the Ferris wheel press. Their logo, and so as I said, I went to their office. They make nice packaging boxes, cardboard boxes, that are very nice, and they are kind of this color, and they have some gold on them. So the choice of colors makes sense. If you check out this company's website, you'll see what I mean. I like that. 3 colors to choose from is nice. They are cute pens, and something that I really appreciated is that there was definitely eye for detail. Look at the engraving on this section. It's not just engraved nicely, it's crisp and clean, but there's detail. The company's logo, the V and VI, the 5 and 6, that is nice stuff. It says design in Canada. It has the maple leaf. So all of these things are small details, and details are what matters when you are dealing with fountain pens, especially if you try to be sort of in a luxury segment of them, and I think that is very nice. I like all of that. There are a couple of things though I don't like so much, okay? And they are 2 things that are kind of related to each other. Ferris wheel press makes a point out of dealing with local artists, local people who design their stationery, who, you know, they work with local people. Then these pens were designed in Canada, but then they're made in Shanghai. Now, I understand that. I understand that you can have something made in Shanghai and that will work. But if you emphasize the locality of the products you sell so much, then I don't know if this was the ultimate optimal choice. If you look at the additive pens, these are made in Canada, right? So I think it might have been interesting to try and pursue something in Canada, but of course, yeah, I understand there's all sorts of logistical reasons to not do that and to move to China. I just found it interesting. I think one of my issues, and that may be the biggest issue, because whether they're made in China or not, yeah, that's maybe a philosophical thing, if is that an issue? I mean, Ferris wheel press works with local artists, but I'm sure they also work with people who are not local, so that's, I'm good with all that. But the pen costs $183, that is Canadian. You can get a discount if you sign up for their newsletter, but it's quite expensive. Because let's be fair, we have come to expect that Chinese pens can be had for $10, sometimes $5, and these are not. But they're not $50 either, they're not $100 either, they're $183, and again that's Canadians, not US. But it's quite pricey, and I understand there's a lot of nice detail, there's the engravings, I like all of that, but let's be fair, for a steel nib, cartridge-converter, definite made in China pen, Ferris wheel press emphasizes made in Shanghai, that's fine with me, but at the end of the day it's made in China, right? It's a bit expensive, I find, and that is the biggest hurdle for me to overcome looking at these pens. Now what I will say is, there are vibrant colors. There is nice eye for detail with the engravings. There are inside jokes like the 5 and 6. The maple leaf is cool. And the most important part is, all 3 of these wrote flawlessly out of the box. So all of that's cool, right? And I like all of that. But you have to decide, as always, whether this particular pen is worth it for you. And that's all there's to it. So I hope this was useful, food for thought, and I'm glad to see you later. Bye bye.